Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Zero to Play podcast. I'm your host, Carl Leduc, and today I'm joined by Lual Mayen. Lual is a game developer from South Sudan who has lived with the most adversity than any other game developer I have ever spoken to. He grew up in a refugee camp in northern Uganda for 22 years, where he regularly walked 3 hours just to charge his computer to play games and code. In 2018, he won the Global Gaming Citizen Award at the Game Awards, and he's now in America developing games for good under his company, Janup Games. Today, we're going to talk about the power of games as a medium to develop empathy, his mission at Janup Games and how he believes he can bring positive change to the world, and the struggles and challenges he's had to overcome in his game development journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 6 of season 2 of the Zero to Play podcast. Hey, Lual, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and I can't wait to dive into this conversation. I'm really excited and yep.
Yeah, no, you have some amazing interviews that you've done out there. I mean, the work that you've done with Facebook and the Game Awards, I highly recommend everyone to just go out and hear Lual's story because it's nothing short of inspiring. What I find is really special is you and I are both a very similar age. I think I'm 27 now. How old are you at the moment?
27.
Yeah, so we're both the same age, yet we have very different stories and very different paths, yet we've managed to, I mean, I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. Are you still in Washington at the moment?
Yeah, I'm in Washington, D.C. so far, yeah.
And that's incredible. I am so curious about, what I love about talking to people on this podcast about gaming being used as a form of art. And I think you wanting to tell your story about what it's like, what it was like growing up in a refugee camp and what it's like for refugees and trying to communicate that through gaming as a medium is so special. So I guess the first question I want to ask is what is that feeling that you want to try and convey through your game Salam? What is the experience that you want to give to the players?
Yeah, I mean that's a very good question, and for all of us who are in the industry, the game industry, first of all, I believe that we can use our past and our experiences to create a sustainable future for the people. And before you even do that, you have to think about, okay, what is the medium to be able to put that into action? Because execution is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And with my background, being a refugee, living in a refugee camp for like 22 years, I wouldn't be where I am today without that experience, or even I wouldn't even create game without that experience. And the reason why I'm saying that is that games are really very powerful tool to be able to tell stories. In what ways? And I always tell people that the game industry is an industry of people or a community of people who love what they want to play. Mm-hmm. And with that is that it's not like somebody sitting on a couch and watch a movie, right? Mm-hmm. When you're playing game, you're making decision. When you're making decision, it depends on that role and what that decision you're making. And that's one thing that when I start playing video game in my life, the first game that I played was Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. And then when I played that game, and I would think about it. I would think about, okay, if my first experience playing game wasn't Grand Theft Auto, would I be able to make game today? And I would say maybe no, maybe not. Or maybe yes, because like the first time I play a video game was the time I realized that, wow, games are really very powerful because there was a decision making that was involved. Everything that I was doing, I was aware of. And then I kind of reflect back to my journey. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt about, okay, I'm from South Sudan, a country that is ripped by civil war. Almost 73% of the population around the age of 30, they were young people. They were born in war. They were raised up in war. And to me, I was thinking like all they know, all they have in their mind, the only way they can be able to resolve conflict is war. And I was like, true peace is something that is built over time, right? With so many processes. It's more than just, international communities, or it's more than just, politicians coming together and sign a ceasefire. There is there is a process that is actually involved. And to me, when I was playing games, I felt like, maybe I can make a game that can be able to help people, make decision, engage, and those decisions are based on reality of life. And that's why I felt like, games are really very powerful tool that we can be able to do that. And the best example of that is just, I remember I was having a conversation with Raji. He was the former president of Nintendo.
Yeah.
So when I met him, when I met him in LA, we had this conversation, and I was like, why do you think that really the game industry is changing right now? Because more people are investing into like, the power of game, the thing that we can do in the industry. And with that, when you look at Nintendo, look at the game people are producing, they're all about like, tell stories, it's stories that can be able to reflect. We are all different people, but we are all relatable. And when I look at somebody as a refugee, as my journey, I think that when I make a game about refugees, so that people understand the journey of a refugee. So when you're playing it, you kind of know that exactly this is what they go through.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. And gaming is such a young medium that it hasn't really reached that point of mainstream. Like people haven't thought of making using games as a way to express their stories. I mean, people write books or write songs or make movies about their stories, and that's something that's been happening for decades. But the fact that you were inspired by Grand Theft Auto, and you thought you made that connection to develop a game to make that to teach the player how to make better decisions is exactly the kind of thing that needs to happen for the medium to get to that next stage, to make people start thinking more about what's possible with games. I think the kind of category of games that Salam is in is the kind of games for good, the serious games category.
Yeah.
And what I think is incredible about that is that it's still so early for that category. But there's a feature in the game where when you buy medicine or food within the game, it gets 1-to-1. You're providing food and medicine to the refugee camps, and that's such an amazing just strategy for gamers, and then also for helping the environment and the people. Is there more to that thought process? What's your overall mission with that kind of feature in the game?
Yeah, I mean, like even for me to even think about that, I thought about, okay, first of all, I have a mission. Most people that play game, they have an idea of why they're playing that kind of game. And then to me, I was okay, if they love this game, if they want to play this game, if they're learning empathy, and when they're learning empathy, that's a very important thing for them to learn, which is like already like my mission. Because I wish we live in a world whereby empathy is not taught. It's something that it has to be there. But I think that we are in this world right now where we think that it's so hard for somebody to have empathy on somebody, for like even decision makers and all those things. And to me, the thought process of where I thought about, okay, we can use game to bridge the global communities. And the way we bridge that, it can even be through somebody playing the game and experience it. And then it can also be, just connecting the players to be able to like, feel the sense of the impact that they're doing directly. First of all, the first impact is, okay, you are learning from the game. Second is like, I'm a business, it's a business company. And I think about the in-app purchases that are always there. And those difficulties that you have to overcome in the game for you to win. To me, I felt like it's more than winning. I want people to also feel that they're also giving back, and that's why it was really very important for me to actually, when somebody buy food in the game, you're actually buying food for someone in the refugee camp. And for us to do that, we're partnering with different organizations in the refugee camp to be able to like help kids in a refugee and also like distribute things like that. you mentioned something really, really very important about serious game
Mm-hmm.
and game for social good or game for impact, anything that is, game that are very, that are like more having impact. And that's something that I think that the game industry have to do very well.
Yeah.
More people are not making game for a serious game because one, they think about, serious game don't make money, where I'm going to get the funding, to be able to hire, and all those things. You need to be maybe a non-profit organization to be able to do educational game or serious game, and all the categories that they put us in. And that's why, like, for the last 2 years, 3 years, things are changing. Things are changing in a way that even when we talk about, like, for the first time, the Game Award, like the biggest industry, gathering, was able to start a new category to actually recognize games for good, right? When we have that medium and the industry, highlighting games like that, more people would think about, oh wow, I can make game for social good, and I can be able to have that platform.
Yeah.
More people think, like, even like CNN. I became like CNN champions for change for
That's right.
2020. Because I'm making game for good. I think, like, just having the, the medium and the mainstream media being able to, like, bring that kind of conversation into, like, to people, so that more people can be able to learn. And that gives me so much hope, because I think games are really very powerful. You see games whereby, where someone feel it, where it's like, and people personalize them, become part of you. And that's why I think, like, really, like, I urge more developers and to be able to create that kind of game, because we are creating experiences, and as creators, as developers, just as creators alone, I think that you can be able to create an environment where somebody can live for the rest of their life. Because that's what you're doing as a creator. You're envisioning something where somebody, and that's why diversity and inclusion is very important in the game industry, because the same people you're including. If I wasn't a refugee, I wouldn't create game for refugees.
Yeah.
Because that was my experience. So I think that, the creators have to reflect on their life and what kind of game they're creating. And that's why, like, I'm really excited about, like, the future of the industry, because more people are, are start, like, creating game like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting the these new awards are being created at the moment, and we're only probably going to see the people being inspired, the kids being inspired by seeing you win the Global Gaming Citizen Award. Only in 10 years' time are we going to see the effects of that kind of inspiration, and those kids that are going to grow up to make games and think of ideas for making better games that will make a better impact. And so it's definitely a long journey, and I love that you one thing actually I wanted to mention before I forgot is there's a company called Tentree in Vancouver that for every jumper that you buy, they plant a tree. And I think that's a great example of there's a shift happening, I think, in the world where people are investing in brands and companies that are making a change for good, and combining that that kind of non-for-profit mission with a for-profit organization, and that company is doing very well. And I strongly believe that a company like Janup Games could become a really popular game that creates games that are fun, but it also helps people. And those are definitely two missions that can be done at the same time. Just because it's
I mean, like,
not-for-profit
I
doesn't mean it
love
can't
that.
be fun.
Yeah, I like that so much. Sorry to interrupt. I like that so much that, the industry, every industry is changing that now, because the generation is also changing in a way that we are, the time that we're in right now, people care about humanity more.
Yeah.
People begin to understand, like, what it means. That means that, businesses can still thrive when you're helping other people, because I think that's what the time that we are in right now are more like, they're very sensitive time when it comes to, like, social justice. They are also very sensitive time when it comes to, like, humanity, because, like, we are living in a generation whereby, like, if your company doesn't do right, if your company doesn't care about human, and those times are gone. I think that, and that's why, even like in the game industry, more people are still, like, investing in different, diversity and inclusion initiatives and all those things, because time always change. Time always change. You can deal with big companies like Nike, and all those things. I think it's just about the time. It's just
Yeah.
about the time, and it will change as more creators create the thing that means so much to them.
Yeah.
Because when you create something that means so much to you, you're creating a product that is actually going to help more people that are coming, because you're actually creating solutions. You're actually creating solution for the solution to the problem that your community is facing. So it's more like and that's why like time is changing, and I like that so much. Yeah.
Totally, and I love that you're at the forefront of that in the gaming industry, and that makes me very excited for the kind of projects that you'll be developing. And like gaming is a very long-term process. It's hard to, it takes years to develop games, and I'd love to talk a bit more about the journey of Salam and how that process is going, and what your current goals are for that. Because I mean, any game developer struggles. You like, and you're in a completely unique situation, and you're dealing with those struggles of a game developer using new technology, trying to find talent, and talented developers and things like that. What has that process been like this year so far? I mean, COVID has probably
Yeah.
affected that whole process as well, but I'd love to
Yeah,
hear a bit more
exactly.
about what's happening right now with Janup Games.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a very good question, and as all of us, like everybody, whether you're game developer, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether like whatever you're creating, it's they're all challenges that we find, and challenges are always like bigger and bigger and bigger and so on, and then you see there like a lot of expectation. I need to play your game, but like
Yeah.
people don't think what is going on behind that. Stuff
So
like that.
true.
But yeah, but I'm grateful. I'm really grateful, because like I really wanted to release Salam in the summer, and then the COVID happened, and then as a startup, we were in the process of raising more fund and hiring more people and things like that. So that alone kind of changed the time, and then kind of changed like even with most of the investors, because like for me, like I really want to like create a masterpiece. I want to create something that in the next 10 years people will still like remember something that I created. And for you to create it, you need resources, and it's better for me to take more time than rush in and releasing a game
Yeah.
that in the next 2 years people won't play it again, and work so hard to be able to like put everything together. So and I'm really excited that we are in a very good you know role right now, where we are able to like release the game before the end of the year.
Cool.
And the reason is because like I was able to take like the whole summer talking with investors, talking with all like like all those things, like connecting with different people. And making game is not easy.
No.
It's not easy. And the best thing about it is that as a director myself, or like someone who's directing the game, or just thinking about what I want to achieve, it's like every single day you get a new idea, and you feel like you wanna put you
Yeah.
want to put it up there. Another thing, like I kind of like struggle sometimes, and then putting in a team together, it's not easy, but it's amazing whenever you find people that really
That you can
know
trust.
your vision, and they know, like they can even help you with like like to be able to like, hey, this is not the right thing, when you're designing the game and things like that. And it's been an amazing time, because I've done so much, and I was able to connect with the right people that helped me, and also like really amazing industry friends, like Santa Monica Studio. They made one of my favorite game, God of War.
Yeah.
I talk with them all the time, like to give
Wow.
me advice. People like Rami Ismail,
Yeah.
like help me to be able to like keep pushing. It's a very hard industry to think that like you can be able to make it alone. Like it's so hard. It's a very hard industry, because it 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 requires decision making, and every decision that you make every single time determine your next level.
Yeah.
Determine the next process. And that's why it takes so much time to like for people to create game and release them. and because like there's so much work that is needed there.
Yeah.
And I'm able to like, work with amazing team from Facebook, Facebook gaming, to be able to like, set up the right, the right path. Also like from PlayStation as well, like different kind of people, so that I can be able to like, because I'm still in a journey. I just started my journey, and
Totally.
I want people to be patient with what I'm creating and continue,
Yeah.
and people like Jimmy, they've been like, when it comes to like business perspective, they have been like there to help me, because like, I remember talking with him, and I told him one day, hey Jimmy, do you know that, I know I have a good story, but do you know that it's not a good story that make a good business, and a good business doesn't make a good story. So I'm in a way of life right now where I want to balance everything, and balancing them is because like you have to balance them in order to succeed.
Yeah, I'm glad you spoke about the the amount of pressure that you're feeling to
Yeah.
make something, but you know that you want to make something that will last and that will be beautiful and fun to play. And you mentioned that it will take 10 years. It might take 10 years, and I love that you've got that long-term perspective, because I would want, for me personally, looking at your story, I wouldn't want you to rush anything, or to put out something that you're not proud of, because there are a lot of people watching. And I think you have the right mindset. It's awesome that you can connect with talented people in the industry, and have access to resources to help you on that journey. And I guess patience is one of the key things that will help you on this journey. I read somewhere, are you exploring different games, or are you just developing Salam at the moment? Because I saw somewhere that you might be exploring a VR experience, or are you still sticking to the runner game?
Yeah, very, very good. Like, I mean, I love developing things. I love when it comes to like game jam. I kind of like try to like
Game
when it
jams,
comes like doing game jams. I love doing new things. I love exploring different kind of things. But I don't do that often, But when I do it, I feel like when I have an idea, you know, our ideas are small pieces of inspiration that we find every single time, and then we put them together. And yes, I'm exploring a VR a VR game that actually I already have a prototype, and I already tested it, and I actually built that in 2019. Actually,
Wow.
I think maybe I think the end of 20 yeah I'm 20, yeah 2019. I built that. I tested it, and then I just kept it there because I think that I'm putting most of my time right now on Salam. I also have a board game actually.
How do you
But
pronounce that? I think, what is it called? Wada? How do you pronounce that
wider,
properly?
wider, wider, yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about that, and like what the kind of the main game systems, that's because it's all about conflict resolution, right?
Resolution, yeah.
Can you explain to me a bit more about how WADA does help people learn how to resolve conflict better?
Conflict. Yeah, I mean, the reason why I really like video game are very powerful, and that's where I want my life to go on. Just making games and video game and things like that. Uh, board game, card game. I realized that they have a very specific different, which I think that it's so different from the video game. And that is the feature of just bringing people on the same table. That alone, like video game does that, but I think board game and like card games are really very, very important in that. And I feel like conflict resolution need people to be on the same table. And then the mechanic of that is like, okay, what is my experience as a person who is creating the game? So Wider is an amazing game. Okay, I actually like tested it with like, I've sent it to like University of San Diego. They use it for like they like teaching conflict.
That's awesome.
Georgetown University, American University. Like I've sent it to like George Mason University, like universities that are like more like into like conflict resolution and peace building, so that I can get feedback from them. One thing I love about the game is it how people have conversation about conflict. And when you're having conversation in a game, there are also cards, and those cards has different question about how to resolve a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the board has also like you have your characters, and then someone can kill your character, otherwise you have to neutralize the war,
Mm-hmm.
and all those things, like you're playing Uno and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the best feature is that whenever like someone like ask you like, okay, there's a free question whereby you have to tell us a country that is going on, that is having a conflict right now,
Mm-hmm.
and for you is what can you be able to do to resolve that conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll pick a country that and then you say, hey, maybe Uganda. And then you explain the conflict that is going on in Uganda, and your perspective of what you can do to be able to solve that conflict. So when you say that, your opponent actually have the responsibility to grade you. So they will give you scores, and those scores will be able to accumulate. And when those, based on you on the way you're solving the problem, and
Mm-hmm.
then when they accumulate, and they would actually you actually use those scores to bring back your character to life. So like the system is related, okay, from war, whether your character is your character is dead. You cannot win a game without when your character is dead. So you have to bring back your character to life, and for you to bring back your character to life, you have to answer certain conflict resolution questions to get that score. So it's more about like it's a very very heavy on like having conversation about conflict. I remember like I sent it to a family during the Thanksgiving, and then this family
Mm-hmm.
called me. Oh my God! Like, Lual, did you know this is my first time for my family to sit down and talk about conflict? And then and you see, you're bringing something like people think that conflict is something like Yemen, South Sudan, Syria, like even families. You need to talk about like what are the simple things, workplace and all those things, and that's why like also games are really very powerful. Yeah,
Wow, no, that's incredible. Just your
thanks.
perspective on
Mm,
how to overcome war, you're making those relationships similar to
mm,
how you resolve conflict in a household. It's really intriguing and inspiring,
mm,
and I hope more people are listening, because you lived it. You and you've probably talked to people from all walks of life.
for
You
life.
understand the perspective of people on both sides of the table, and I love that you're an advocate for not promoting unnecessary wars, and trying to educate people on how to resolve conflict, and not you know senselessly kill. And it's very just it's such a beautiful, like, honorable mission that it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough in my life, with the projects that I'm working on. And that's and what I feel is inspired. I feel inspired to think bigger with the projects that I'm working on and thinking about. And if I do ever develop a game one day, to really think bigger about how it can really help move the
Mm.
world forward, and become a safer and happier environment.
I think, but what you're doing now is really amazing. I think, like at the end of the day, I mean, we have responsibilities, right, to do as creators, and those responsibilities, as I said before, like slowly by slowly, we are making impact in so many ways. And I
Mm,
think like the work that you're doing, sharing my story, the game that you're working on, or like maybe in the future, or like
mm,
this you're in that process of like identifying the thing that you care for, and when you're able to like find out what you care about, and then do it, you're actually giving back, because like care is the most important thing. Might
mm,
be your family, might be more people, might be uh working with a company that is actually having an innovation, so you're contributing to that,
mhm.
and things like that. So yeah, I mean, like there's so much we can do, but like there's little that we can do better. So every single thing is count.
Totally. No, no, and I appreciate that. Communication, talking,
Mm,
hearing more stories,
mm,
learning what other people are going through, learning empathy, whether that's through
mm.
talking to other people or playing games that help teach empathy. Yeah, that's incredible. I don't know if I have any other questions that I kind of want to ask. One area that's it's a bit touchy, but I've talked to some developers about this in the past, and I find there's so much value that comes from it. So Salam had a Kickstarter that failed to reach its
Oh
funding.
yeah.
And I love talking about this because I think failure is part of the process of being successful. You might fail, and same as an entrepreneurial journey, you might fail your first few projects, but then the third, fourth, or fifth might be the one that really takes off, and it's the persistence and the patience that really makes an entrepreneur or a successful creator. So I'd love to ask you, if you don't mind, sharing any advice or value about what that process was like, and what you learned from it.
But I mean, I'm glad that this is actually the first time someone has ever asked me that question. And
I felt nervous because I don't want to make you feel bad or anything, but it's because I know people have come out on top, and I think that's part of the journey.
That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, like, when I first of all is that, when I put Salam on Kickstarter, first of all was like to actually, we have different purposes. One was to think about like the community, right? The community, is the community ready to support what I'm working on? Is the community able to like, but that the success of it was not the determination to continue building Salam or not. Like whenever, sometime when you're setting a goal, when you're planning to do something, just you have to identify like, if this doesn't work, what are you learning from it, or what are you gaining from it, or what, like all those things were there. So with Salam being on Kickstarter and failed, I remember, I can't remember, we were actually targeting 75,000, around that. Out of that, I think we raised up to, I don't know, 30,000, I don't know, something like that. So, and that's why I actually put it on Kickstarter, because I wanted to see like the community support. And that community support was so amazing that we were able to raise that amount of money within 30 days.
Wow.
From individuals. There's somebody that even like, there's somebody that actually like gave $10,000, just like one person. And I'm like, crazy, like I don't know that person. Like other people, 5,000, $3, $1, two, and that gave me so much hope, and I was so excited because like I felt like people want me to succeed. People love the idea behind this. And by that time, when I actually, when the last day of when I closed it down, I was really excited. I actually celebrated because I was able to like find what I wanted, and that is like what the community support could look like. It would be amazing if I got my when I reached my goal. But to me, like, it was more than that. It actually put me to the next level of like, okay, now what am I thinking about? What am I, because it's not, and that's why there's something I wrote. After the last day, and I say that, this is a project that I'm chained to. Like I'm chained to it. I'm chained to, I'm part of it. Nothing would actually separate me from it. This is something a part of it. If it takes me to keep building it by myself, I'll build it. So I already set myself in that area, and that's why like a lot of independent game designers sometimes like we fail because we actually put our failure based on the outcome of what we are doing. And making game is not easy. It's not an easy thing. It's not like somebody like doing other stuff. So that Kickstarter campaign really prepared me to be who I am today, and prepare me to even when I'm pitching to people, I'm like, yeah, I raised 30,000.
Yeah, no, totally.
I raised 30,000 Kickstarter. That's another milestone where the investors were like, okay, wow, so you raised 30,000. You see where I'm coming from. You raised 30,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's from the community. That like all those things are able to prepare you as like, and I love talking about this a lot. They're able to like really prepare you to become the person that you are. And then keep building. Yeah.
No, I love it, and I'm sure a lot of preparation,
Mm,
and like you had to put a lot of thought into the Kickstarter campaign, and that thought
mhm,
that you put into it is all adding to the ultimate journey of where the
mhm,
game's going to end up.
mm,
And I love what you said about it being you can't separate yourself from being
mm,
passionate about game design and making games for good because it's part of
mm.
it's part of your story. And I remember seeing how you've still got the laptop that your
Yeah.
mum bought for you, and that's incredible, and that's what I love, and that's so inspiring. Is that there's nothing that will make you lose focus
Mm,
on that mission. So that's yeah,
mm,
that's really incredible to hear, and I love that. It's like even if you raise just $1,
mhm.
that would have been enough for you to go, okay, there's one other person out there
That's it.
that's
Mhm. That
that
cares
wants
about
to
what
see
I'm
this
working on.
game. Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and I love that. It's such a nice perspective change than just someone that's trying to chase. You know, you could have made the funding goal $1 million or a
$1
dollar. It
million.
wasn't about reaching the goal. It was just about
Or
going
even if
through
I
that
want,
process.
I would open a like any like GoFundMe where I can still maintain the money, but that's not what I wanted,
Yeah.
you know. And then keep, I wanted like to like really do that. And I will actually have a question for you because
Hmm.
like
Go for it.
I think you know we I always tell people we live in a generation. Okay, we live in a time right now where doing what you love matters so much.
Hmm.
Why? How can we sustain that?
Mm.
How can we sustain doing what we love? It's a question.
Yeah, there's yeah, I think we're starting to do what you love is a very interesting question, like what you're passionate about. I think
Mm,
talking about passion is an interesting thing. Different people are passionate about different things. I think money does get in the way of that
mm,
question a lot, and surviving. Uh, and I think unless we live in a society where there's where there's a universal basic income where
mm,
the food and water and shelter is taken care of, then you can kind of think clearly about
mm,
what you're passionate about. uh, until we get to that stage, it gets very blurry. But I think community is huge. I think finding a community of people
mm.
that are interested in the same things as you. uh,
And support you. Yeah.
yeah, because I think a love for something
Mm,
is isn't the same if it's just if you're doing it on your own. I think having a love for something when there's community of other people that also love it, that
oh
adds
wow, I
so
like that. I
much.
like
Yeah,
that.
it's because
Wow.
that's what motivates me and makes me continue being able to talk to
Mhm,
people like you, Lual, is what inspires me to continue being passionate about games, because I see the opportunity, I see the projects that other people are working on the other side of the world, and it's the passion comes from just trying to do better every day and
mhm.
trying to be a part of the future of what gaming could be one day. That's why I'm
Mhm.
passionate about it.
Wow, that's a very yeah. I'm learning from that. You see, like I like it so
Yeah, I mean that's why. I mean, we're gonna close the podcast
yeah,
up soon. But you
yeah,
said you're launching a podcast soon. Is that
yeah.
something that you'd like to plug for the audience, where they can hear you talk more about your story?
Yeah, like so like yeah, I'm really excited. There's so many things like giving back is the most important thing. Actually, 4 months ago I launched my foundation.
Cool. Oh,
So
awesome.
yeah, so it's incredible. I'm announcing my biggest partnership I think next month with Coursera and
Nice.
Facebook and stuff like that. Because I want more kids in the refugee camp to like get resources, education, and so on. So
Absolutely.
my podcast is coming very soon. It's actually coming. I'm pretty sure our first announcement is going to be next week,
Cool.
and yeah, like everybody, people can go listen to it. And what I do, I sit down with people that inspired me so much to become who I am today,
Hmm.
and I just have a pre-conversation with them with about things they had overcome to be who they are, and just talking about like how the journey is, and the first question I always ask people is why didn't you give up?
Yeah.
That's a hard
Awesome.
every time, why
I
didn't
love
you
it.
give up? Like, yeah. And just because just having that conversation, and yeah, I had amazing. I'm having really incredible guests, and it's gonna be on YouTube. It's going to be on Spotify. It's going to be
Awesome.
on IGTV as well. And then
Cool.
I will put, yeah, but yeah, thank you. Then I will also publish some on my LinkedIn. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
if anyone
You're
before
welcome. I can't wait. I will have to interview you. I will have to like have a conversation.
I'm on it. One day I'll have
Yeah.
something. One day I'll have something to
Yeah.
promote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested in following you, they can find you on Twitter at official Lual Lual.
Yeah.
You can also find out the latest on his projects, Janup Games, JUNUB Games.com. And yeah, like Lual said, Twitter, Instagram, IGTV, LinkedIn. You seem to be everywhere. YouTube and
Yeah.
your podcast will be releasing soon, and I can't wait to hear more updates about your foundation and the games you're developing. And I can't wait to be able to play and support the games that you develop, because I know there's tons of people out there that are also waiting, but just know that I'm patiently waiting. Even if it comes in 10 years time, I will be there on day one to download it, buy some medicine, buy some food, and help support the gaming industry, help support the refugee camps around the world, and just be a part of this movement that's happening in gaming at the moment.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Lual.
Yeah.
Take care.
Mm.